This content is the property of Put It Out There TV, also known as PIOT TV, a property of the House of Yasha'Allah El Trust. If you are viewing and or listening to this content on a non-PIOT TV branded platform, then we kindly ask that you stop and flag this content for copyright infringement. Thank you.
Peace. I'm conjuring up some energy right now. You just bear with me. I'm invoking right now. Y'all just bear with me. Here we go. I think we may have moved out of conjecture, guys, brothers and sisters. Peace, fam. Brother Haru El Ra. Islam shalom to you, noble brother. Hope all is well with you on your end. I think we may have moved out of conjecture, brothers and sisters. I think that I may be in the position to be able to come out of my mouth. It's a possibility I may be able to come out of my mouth and say that Nipsey Hussle is an Israelite by lineage. I may be able to come out of my mouth and say that. I might be able to. So, first of all, let me make this clear before I go on. I'm not trying to do any clout chasing, okay? I'm not trying to do any clout chasing. I'm not trying to do any clickbaiting. I am not trying to get any pats on the back. I am not trying to do anything like that whatsoever. I really feel like it was something that was put on my spirit that has caused me to continue to dig into this whole thing on Nipsey Hussle's heritage. Like I said, due to the fact of all the disrespect that I've seen directed towards this brother with the tragedy that his family is experiencing, is something that was put on my spirit that caused me to continue to dig and dig and dig. Like y'all see, my last 5 or 6 videos have been about Nipsey Hussle. Now I finished. Now whether y'all viewed the second video or not, I've actually finished the Etymology of Ermias the Cushite series. It's done and over with. I've already done it. So if you watched the first video, the link to that is already in the description there. So my digging caused me to ask a few more questions to myself and see some more who've actually had the opportunity to speak to me on the phone. They always ask, well, what should I study? And I tell them, like, well, you know, you usually study whatever you're interested in. And what happens is when you study this particular body of information, it's going to cause you to ask questions. And if you are really looking for the keys, this knowledge, then these questions are going to cause you to go looking for information, and then you're going to create what's called a nexus, a connection, a web of information that you can go from bam, 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 bam off the top of the dome, like y'all see me doing sometimes. So I'm supposed to be finished with this Ermias, the Cushite series. It's supposed to be done and over with. I'm done, I'm fine. But you know, it just ain't sitting on my spirit right. So, you know, I did a video earlier and I brought up the Beni Amir people out of Eritrea. And I'll be honest, I really wanted to say that the Beni Amir, or the sons of Omar, is where Nipsey Hussle descended from. I wanted to say that's where his descendancy come from, just so I could kind of shut down the Hebrew Israelite brothers out there that's talking about him like a dog, you know, just to kind of shut it down. So I get on Google here about 45 minutes, about an hour ago. I get on Google and I type in the term. I say region of Eritrea where Nipsey Hussle's father is from. And I didn't come up with nothing. So I used another term, something about what part of Eritrea is, I think I typed in, what part of Eritrea is Nipsey Hussle's father from? That's what I typed in. And what I happened to do is I happened to come across an interview with Nipsey Hussle when he went to Eritrea in 2018. So he went to Eritrea in 2018 with his brother, with his father, I think his children, or whatever the case may be, to visit his family. And in the interview, the interviewer was saying how that in Eritrea they have a name for Nipsey, and it's Nepsi, and Nepsi means self or hustle. So they said it means self hustle, and they asked him if he wanted to clear it up and clarify it, and he's like, you know what, that's, considering that Nepsi fits me, he was like, I want that to, that's what I want my Eritrean friends and fans and family to know me by, considering that's the culture. And so he goes in and he was saying something about the Tigrinya language. Now let me look at this. He said something, in this interview, Nipsey said something about the Tigrinya language. Peace and love. I see I got 2 viewers. Thank you for viewing and interacting with the content. Thank you for allowing me to take up so much of your time. Just to kind of bring y'all up to speed, just bear with me. I don't want to go on, but this particular video is me asking the question. Thank you. Peace and love, OGC. Is me asking the question on is Nipsey Hussle a Hebrew Israelite? And if you guys have been following me lately, you've been seeing me doing all these videos on Nipsey Hussle, which again, Eritrean, what's good? Peace and love. Thank you for being here. We got an Eritrean in here. Thank you for being here. Maybe you can kind of clarify some of this stuff that I'm going to be saying in this video. I appreciate you for being here. But as you guys, like I said, before I go any further, because I see we got new viewers, I do not want anybody to think that this is for clickbait, for a pat on the back, for clout, chasing clout, or anything like this. It just was something in my spirit that caused me to go in on this Nipsey Hussle thing, because I've seen brothers and sisters, or at least brothers from the Hebrew Israelite community, disrespecting the brother with this tragedy that his family has experienced. And while I've been going into this study, it's been causing me to ask more questions, and the questions have been causing me to dig up and find answers. So this particular video was inspired by the fact that I was asking myself, what region of Eritrea is Nipsey Hussle's father from? Because I wanted to see, I see there's these different ethnic groups, and I wanted to see exactly what language the ethnic group that his family is from, I wanted to see which language that they spoke. And by me Googling what part of Eritrea is Nipsey Hussle's father from, I came across an interview of Nipsey Hussle where he visited Eritrea in 2018. Right, Tigrinya. I'm going to get into that. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm going to get into that. And the language that he brought up was Tigrinya. And they were saying how they call him Nepsi, and Nepsi, sounds very similar to Nipsey. And they were saying how Nepsi means self or something, self hustle, and that's the connotation that they put behind it for him. And they asked him to clarify this if he wanted them to clear up or correct anything. He was like, no, that's what I want my Eritrean friends, family, and fans to know me as, basically giving respect to the people's culture. Like, I don't want y'all to fit to the American culture. Like, I'm Eritrean. I want to fit to the culture. Brother. Okay, well, see, that's just what they translated it as in the interview that I came across. But like I said, so he brought up the word the word Tigrinya, right? So I go and do this Google search, and I'm coming across all of the languages that are spoken in Eritrea. So, you know, you have the Afar language, you have Arabic, you have Hijazi, they have Standard Arabic, you have Sudanese, they have something called Bedouayet or the Beja, which looks like the word Bedouin. It looks like that's close to the word Bedouin, like they're Bedouin people. They have the Bailain, the Dahalik, and they speak English. You got Geese, they speak some Italian there. You got the Kunama, you got Nara, you got Saho, you got Tigre, then you got Tigrinya. Now, this is what hit me in the face, because like I said, when I came across the term Beni Amir, I know that in Hebrew that translates to Beni Omar or Benim Omar, sons of Omar or Omer. So I kind of assumed within myself that that is the ethnic group of people that Nipsey Hussle came from, but I was incorrect. You know, I wanted to kind of drive it into the Hebrew Israelites out there, like, shut up, you know what I'm saying? Like, here you go right here. But I was incorrect, you know, and I kind of felt defeated a little bit, but I felt like at least I answered my question and at least I did the series. But come to find out, when I look at Tigrinya, let's get into the Tigrinya. And the link to this website that I'm on, which is called ethnologue.com, the link to this specific page that I'm on right now is in the description of this broadcast. You can check it out later to verify what I'm saying. So I'm looking at Tigrinya, and it says widespread, especially south and central, and it says 3,360,000 in Eritrea. So I'm guessing that's the amount of people that speak Tigrinya. Then it goes on to say de facto national working language, alternative names. It says alternative names. Beta Israel. Alternative name, an alternate name for Tigrinya is saying this right here. This is off this now this is a scholarly source. We have to say that this is a scholarly source here. It's saying that an alternate name for Tigrinya is Beta Yisrael, Habashi, Tigray, Tigrinya, Afro-Asiatic, Semitic. It goes on to also say South Ethiopian, North, and then I guess it says it has religions related to it, Christian, Muslim, right? But the fact that I'm sitting here relying on conjecture, again, I told y'all we did the video on conjecture. I'm sitting here relying on the whole Beni Amer thing, right? Because to me, that says Hebrew. You know, to me, that says Hebrew. There I am again, relying on conjecture. And then come to find out, the language that his ancestors, that Nipsey Hussle's ancestors spoke is Tigrinya. It's in the same language family as Arabic and Hebrew. Same exact language family as Arabic and Hebrew. And its alternate name is Beta Yisrael. Now, we were just talking about the word house in Hebrew in another video, Moors and Freemasonry. And I was talking about, yeah, I see those names. No Italian. Okay, so it's wrong there. Okay, thank you. See, we have an authentic Eritrean here on the page, on this video, y'all. So, but yeah, Tigrinya is in the same exact language family as Arabic and Hebrew. An alternate name is Beta Yisrael. And in one of the last videos I did on Moorish culture and Freemasonry, we were going into how it deals with building, and we were talking about how the word father, Abba, Aleph Bet, which means power of the house. You have Bet. So Beta literally means house. That's also where you get the second alphabet of the Greek alphabet, beta, because the Greek alphabet really comes from the Shemitic tongues. So like for instance, in Hebrew, you have Aleph. In Greek, you'll have Alpha. In Hebrew, you'll have Bet. In Greek, you'll have Beta. In Hebrew, you'll have Gimel or Gamal. In Greek, you'll have Gamma. In Hebrew, you'll have Dalet, Daleth. In Greek, you'll have Delta. I could keep going on. I don't even know the damn the Greek alphabet, not at all. I'm just going off the top of the dome because I know the Hebrew alphabet. So I'll probably get like an 80%. I probably get like an 80%, like a high B on the Greek alphabet if I had to like do it off the top of the dome, just matching it up with Hebrew. So this is why I say sometimes we have to study before we come out and say the things that we say, because again, we have a group of people who call themselves Israelites, who say they're out of the house of Israel, who say they are of the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. See, house is biat. See, and then look, but listen, and see, that's the thing. I'm not even going to argue that it's that, because it's in the same family. So it's very similar. It's very similar. And then you know what's so crazy? You just said Beat, right? In the Hebrew Israelite teachings of Hebrew, right? In the Hebrew Israelite teachings in here in so-called United States, they'll say for the word house, they'll say Bayath. Depending on the group of Hebrew Israelites, they'll say Bayath. So Bayat, Bayath. So it's very, very close. That's very close. But see, that's what we're dealing with dialect. That's what we're dealing with dialect. So again, Hebrew Israelite brothers out there, this information here could still be conjecture, but like I said, the information that I'm presenting based off of, compared to, just y'all coming on the internet and the social media and calling this brother Nipsey Hussle a heathen because, what you assume his heritage to be, which I'm gonna tell you is a very inhumane way of thinking. I'm gonna tell you that right now. I don't care what, I'm telling y'all, listen, I don't care what Bible scripture that you pull out, it is a very inhumane way of thinking to try to justify looking at another part of the human family as less than and justifying it with a Bible scripture. I'm telling you, there's something wrong with that. I don't care what anybody says, because the Ku Klux Klan did the same thing. The slave masters, when they had our people in slavery, used Bible scriptures. They did the same thing. So for you to come out of your mouth and use Bible scriptures for why other human beings are less than is crazy. And I can't believe I even thought like that. It's crazy. It's crazy. You can go into all the scripture you want about how I'm off or how I'm on a stumbling block or whatever the case may be. But the thing is, there's scriptures in there that says that how you are supposed to treat strangers. Period. Simple as that. And my whole thing is, as long as Israelites in the United States continue to have that way of thinking about how certain people are heathens and you're not of the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, as long as you have that, you're going to be a broke nation. Because what you have to understand about some of the greatest figures out of your history, such as King Solomon and things of this nature, there were trade relationships with different nations on the earth. You're going to be some broke ass people. I just want to tell you that, because if you cannot do commerce with the other nations of the world, you're going to be a broke ass people. Period. Yeah, Nip was about unity. He definitely was. You know what I'm saying? He definitely was. He definitely was. All day. So I'm gonna go ahead and get off of here, y'all. I didn't want to be on here very long. I just wanted to kind of expose y'all to this other piece of information that I come across about brother Nipsey Hussle. And we see here that, like I said, an alternate name for Tigrinya is Beta Yisrael, which literally means house of Yisrael. House of Yisrael. So the brother has a Hebrew name. Check this out, right? Check this out. Before I go. Nipsey Hussle's brother's name is Samiel. Not Samuel, Samiel. Now, I don't know what that translates to in the Eritrean tongue in Tigrinya, but in Hebrew that translates to my name is power. That's what that translates to in Hebrew. So, considering that Hebrew is Afro-Asiatic, considering that Tigrinya is Afro-Asiatic, and Hebrew was spoken by the house of Israel, and Tigrinya is called Beta Israel, I'm willing to bet that probably means something very similar. Yeah, see? So I have an Eritrean that's on this video that speaks the language. I assume this particular person speaks Tigrinya. They're agreeing with what I'm saying. So this goes to show how silly his Hebrew Israelite brothers are looking online, that a little bit of Google searching caused me to come across this information. And maybe a little bit of Google searching would cause brothers not to even open up their mouths and disrespect this brother like this. See, if your doctrine, right, if your doctrine at least is going to be so-called race-based, and you want to be right, and you're supposed to be the elect and the chosen and this and that, you want to make sure that you are astute and studious before you come out and say, because you don't want to look foolish saying foolish things, and you're supposed to be the chosen people, and you know all these prophets were sent for you, and this, you don't want to look foolish supposing to be the prophets of the 21st century, because there's no way that a prophet will come out of a real live true prophet, man of the Most High, will come out of their mouth and say anything like that in a disrespectful manner towards Nipsey Hussle, and without having the facts. They wouldn't call him a heathen without having the facts. So it seems here, since Nipsey Hussle has an ancestry that doesn't deal with United States slavery, that he may be more of a Hebrew Israelite than you. Actual, factual one. Period. Benaim, Ben, on and on. We only carry biblical names. That's what I'm saying. Listen. That's what I'm saying. That's why I don't comprehend how somebody who's supposed to be like the elect and the supreme chosen people of the Most High, Yahuwah, that you don't pay attention to the culture of these people. Because that's the first thing I said. I'm like, well, if you're gonna say that Nipsey Hussle is a Hamite or he's a Cushite, based off of the fact that he comes from Eritrea, well, you at least have to have the common sense to know that there are different ethnic groups within these borders of these countries inside of Africa, and not all these people consider themselves to be the same. Not everybody has the same language, the same culture. There are differences there. So if you're gonna come out and say that, you want to at least say, well, damn, let me check and look at this man's ethnic group first, because then when you find out the ethnic group, and then you're gonna be like, well, damn, now I know the ethnic group, now I can look at the language. But I see this specific ethnic group of people seem to keep giving their children Hebrew names. Not to even count out the fact that Nipsey Hussle's name is Ermias, which is another form of Yirmeyahu, which is Jeremiah, which is the name of a Hebrew Israelite prophet. So you have to take these type of things into account. That would have caused me, of course I didn't call him a heathen, that would have caused me to say, you know what, I might want to hold back. I may not want to call this brother a heathen, because damn, he got a Hebrew name. His dad's name is Hebrew. His brother's name is Hebrew. His language is called Beta Yisrael. I think I'm just gonna hold back. I think I'm gonna hold back on calling this brother a heathen. Let's see here. Teach thorough Hebrew names consistently for millenniums. I'm sorry, clarify that for me, brother Dan Grand Besa. I may be misunderstanding what you're saying. Teach thorough Hebrew names consistently for millenniums. I may be misunderstanding what you're saying. So I appreciate you interacting with the content. Just kind of clarify that for me so I can interact back with you. Look, I was supposed to get off this video, wasn't it? I always keep myself on here when I'm supposed to be getting off. It's because y'all end up jumping on, and every time I get ready to get off, I get like 2 or 3 extra people to come on, and I feel like it'd be wrong for me to jump off the video when new people come in. But yeah, so this has been Right. That's the thing. They probably are correct too. The thing is, we might be one. Listen. Carrying all them Hebrew names like that, like I heard Nipsey Hussle say, like, we have a 1,000-year tradition. Like, so-called African Americans cannot say that. That's what I'm saying. When you have somebody who is as closely tied to an ancient culture that goes back that far, and he said it himself. He was like, it's different for me. He was like, as opposed to somebody who comes from slavery and they're 5 generations removed. He was like, it's different for me. You know what I'm saying? He's talking about a 1,000-year culture. So he may be talking about 1,000 years of having. And see, this is my thing. Because in the Hebrew Israelite doctrine, and I have to keep talking about this, there's this thing like Cushites, Hamites, Misraimites, Canaanites. Israelites are supposed to be like arch enemies forever. Like, they're supposed to be arch enemies forever. So with that being said, if that is the case, and like I said before, Nipsey Hussle was supposed to be a Cushite, no Cushite worth his salt is going to call himself by a Hebrew name, right? They're not going to call themselves by a Hebrew name. Names that have some of the divine attributes of the divine creator, like El and Yah. Why are we finding Eritrean people with the Hebrew names of the Most High, El and Yah, in their appellations? And they're supposed to be Cushites. That's what's killing me. Like, how are you supposed to be the elect and the holy men of the book, and you're not utilizing this common sense to put this type of conjecture together? Because like I said, maybe this is conjecture. Maybe I'm conjecturing. But damn, man. At least do that. I mean, at least do... Let's see. Sorry, not claim. It's proved that they still maintain the tablets of Solomon, and the blood lineage goes through Haile Selassie, etc. Yeah, they're really tight knit with that culture over there. Jesus only, yes, but Jesus changed all of it. But you know what? Jesus didn't change. Jesus may have changed one thing, but what he did say is that he did not come to remove the law, neither the prophets. And he also said that neither a tittle of the law shall pass until heaven and earth have passed. Something along those lines. So Jesus never came to remove the law of the prophets. That's already been made clear in Matthew, I think it's book chapter 5. Prophet Yeshua already made that clear. He didn't come to remove the law of the prophets. And even, when he was here, he was quoting the prophets. He was quoting the Old Testament. What a lot of people fail to realize is there was no New Testament when the prophet Yeshua, who we call Jesus, when he was putting in his work. There was no New Testament. He was quoting, the law of the prophets. He was quoting the prophets. And the thing is, the prophets dealt with birthright. When you go to that Bible, you're dealing with birthright. So that's why you always see Hebrew Israelites kind of focusing on the heritage and things of this nature, because birthright is important. It is very important. It is very important. 100% important. You can't go to one of these different ethnic groups in Eritrea and tell the Nara people that they got to take on the ways of the Dahalik or the Bailain. You can't tell them that. That's not gonna fly. Period. It is not gonna fly. You can't tell them that they gotta take on, you can't go to Eritrea and tell them that they gotta take on West African culture. It's just not gonna fly. Period. At all. It's not gonna fly at all. At all. And Yeshua was dealing with birthright. Jesus was dealing with birthright. You know what I'm saying? So that's one thing that you cannot escape with that Bible. Birthright. It's talking about the nation of Yisrael and Beta Yisrael all the way through. All the way through. You know what I'm saying? Like once you start getting with, get to Moses or whatever the case, all the way through, they're dealing with Yisrael. You know what I'm saying? And that it just can't be denied. And your name's like Shlomo. Yeah, Shlomo. That's Solomon. Seth, right? Ethiopia. Yeah. All of that is over there. All of that is over there. All of that Hebrew culture is over there. You know what I'm saying? In some of its most original forms. Period. And see, this is my thing. When I was coming up through the Hebrew Israelite teachings, 2007, 2008, 2009, 2000, some of 2010, having a name like Ermias or Samiel was good enough for you to be thrown into the Hebrew Israelite box. Like that was good enough. You know what I'm saying? As soon as they come across that name, or at least back then having a name like Ermias, a name like Samiel, that was good enough for an Israelite who was worth his damn salt to go do the etymology on those names, start asking more questions, and then go look into other things. You know what I'm saying? At least that's what it would have done for me. I would have been like, damn, you know what? Let me go look at, because I'm saying as soon as I heard the brother's name, Ermias, I'm like, I know that IAS. I'm like, that's Yah. I know. See, and that's the thing. I'm not really hip on the separation of Eritrea and Ethiopia. I've heard of it now that you mention it. But see, that's the thing. As I was doing my research today, I'm like, these people are so similar. I'm like, they look alike. They got the same names. I'm like, they using the same alphabet. I'm like, yeah. So that makes sense. They were one country at one point in time, and that's crazy. Thank you, OGC. I appreciate you. That's crazy. They were one point, so they're like the North and South Korea of Africa, lightweight, pretty much is what you're telling me. That is crazy. You know what, OGC? That's the beautiful stuff about this when everything unfolds for you. Like this stuff I'm telling y'all right here. Like I'm familiar with some information. I'm familiar with some Hebrew and things of this nature, but there's other stuff like the ethnic group and the language of Eritrea. That's new information for me. That's new information to me. That's why I keep telling everybody, don't look at me like I'm some type of master teacher. I'm a student just like everybody else. All I'm going to do is come and do a video and tell you what I learned in class today. Right, I get that. I would never disrespect you and call you Ethiopian. I would not disrespect you because I know there's a separation. I would never disrespect you, It's almost, I'm sure that's like the equivalent of calling a Puerto Rican a Mexican. Where I'm at, and where I live at is like the city where I domicile is like, it's right next to another city, a city that's highly populated by so-called Puerto Rican people. So I went to high school with a high school that was highly populated by so-called Puerto Rican people, and you'd be damned to call a Puerto Rican a Mexican. I tell you, your ass is looking for trouble. 2007, 2009, 2010, etc. See, yeah, we were around the same time, Ben. There was a 30-year war to free ourselves. We had a 30-year war. And you know what? So what was the war over, Jesus only? What was the war over exactly? Because I would hope you wouldn't disagree with me, and maybe I'm incorrect, but the Ethiopians, they're your brothers, right? Would you agree? aren't the Ethiopians? Because, and I know this sounds kind of European of me, but y'all look alike over there a lot. Ethiopia and the Eritreans, like some of the Eritreans, like y'all look alike a lot over there. You know what I mean? It would be hard. I'd be hard pressed to tell an Eritrean apart from Ethiopian. I'd be hard pressed. You know what I mean? Unless I like really get into studying it, but it would just for face value it would be hard. So I don't mean to be disrespectful. I'm sorry if I offended you, but just from an outsider point looking in, Eritreans and Ethiopians look alike. So unfortunately you may have it to where there are people who may be more familiar with, and I'll tell you what, I was more familiar with Ethiopians. So the very first time that I actually saw an Eritrean, I thought it was an Ethiopian. I thought the brother was an Ethiopian, but it was actually an Eritrean. So that was my ignorance. You know what I mean? But we learned. So either way, peace and love. You know what I mean? So Eritrea is an ancient punt, which is an ancestral land. So what do you mean, like ancient punt of what, like West Africa punt? Because on certain maps I saw punt or put, the Puttites was Northwest Africa. I could be incorrect. Like I said, I'm a student, so if you know something I know. Ethiopians, Amharic were a little curled to my people. Indeed, Jesus only. I appreciate you, brother. It's always good to have interaction from people that's more attached to the culture, because we need it. You know what I mean? I was thinking about that today. I'm like, even with all these different schools of thought that we have within the so-called African American community, at the end of the day, it's still us grasping for straws for identity, history, heritage, and to be attached to something greater than what we're attached to currently, which is slavery. It's kind of a sad thing. It's kind of a sad bucket to be in. It really is at the end of the day. It's kind of heartbreaking. It almost made me want to cry. That at the end of the day, as sure as we want to seem with all these different schools of thought within the so-called African American community, at the end of the day, it's still grasping in the dark for straws for an identity and a history and a language and a culture and an attachment to the human family. And it's really sad. Some of these people should have hell to pay, but we do have to take some responsibility. It's crazy. No, punt is Eritrea, Ethiopia, and Somalia. Okay, now I won't argue that at all. But what I would say is, though, what we have to remember is migrations. So right, so even though you got that history of those being the original people there, that's why you have the different ethnic groups going on, because you have certain people that may have migrated in there, and now they seem to be a permanent fixture since they've been there so long. You know what I mean? So I see what you're saying. I see exactly what you're saying about it being pumped. You know what I'm saying? But it just seems like there's history out there that shows that there's, so-called Israelite groups of people who have migrated into certain parts of Africa, and you have, certain people in Africa that seem to be branded with that culture. Like for instance, you got the Tigrinya language, and come to find out, another name for the Tigrinya language is Beta Israel. Now this is so crazy, y'all. I just had deja vu. I literally just had deja vu. This is crazy. It was not meant for me to get off this video 20 minutes ago like I said I was. Wow. This is crazy. Like, I remember having a dream of saying... I remember having a dream of talking to y'all about the Tigrinya language and about how it being Beta Israel. Like, I remember that sentence. I remember like broadcasting and talking to y'all. That is so crazy, man. And I know they got some type of science out there that belittles whatever deja vu is tied to, but it's some deep stuff tied to deja vu. I see we got 3 likes. Thank y'all. I see we got 8 viewers out there, y'all. If we can get those likes up or we can get those dislikes up, either or, it doesn't matter. I would appreciate that. Let's get some more notifications out here and see if we can get some more people rocking. All them locations are ancient pool, which predates Israel Bible. Right. All those locations are ancient poop, which predates Israel. This is the thing. I'm not going to argue that at all. This is why I'm not going to argue that. Brother Kofi, KC Akut. I hope I pronounced that correctly. I've always had a thing for appellations. Kofi, KC Akut. I hope I pronounced that correctly. What does Akut mean? Does that mean one or unity? Akut? Kofi? What does that mean? Ahut, because that looks like very close to the word, that looks very close to the Hebrew word achad, which means one, which means unity, ancestor. Okay, all right. Now this is what I'll say though. Israelites have ancestors. You see what I mean? And I think this is where people in the Hebrew Israelites, certain people within the Hebrew Israelite school of thought, certain groups, I think they fail to realize that Hebrew Israelites have ancestors, and before there was Israel, you had other groups of people that they descended from that had practices that Israelites today would probably call heathen, they would probably call pagan, right? So I'm not going to argue that. Like for instance, on the Hebrew calendar, which I'm not super duper familiar with it like I used to be, but I know at one point in time on the Hebrew calendar, there used to be a month called Shemish or Shemash. Now in Hebrew, Shemash, that means sun, but like the sun in the sky, sun. But in certain cultures over there in East Africa, the Fertile Crescent, Shemesh is the name of a deity, I don't want to say deity because that's Greek. Let me say something that's more or less, that's the title of an El. I'll say of a power or of a nature. How about that? That's the name of a nature, of a deity, God, right? So that goes to show at one point in time that the Hebrew Israelites' ancestors, and this cannot be argued because it's actually in the Torah, it says it, at one point in time, they had what's called heathen practices or pagan practices that can still be found evident in the culture today. That's why I said, man, when you get to studying language, you get to studying other things, it opens you up and you don't be closed-minded. So that's why I have a lot of people that come across me, they be like, oh, you an Israelite? Like, you a whole different type of Israelite. Like, you're not gonna argue with me about this? Like, no, because I got a whole ass library here. I read a bunch of stuff. Why am I gonna argue about that when we both students? Maybe you came across something that I ain't came across yet. If you know it, drop it on me. Let's go, because we both students. You know what I'm saying? I'm not anybody's teacher at all, probably but my children. I'll go there as far as that. But other than that, I am a student, period. So I'm willing to take that extra, information. Plenty of on the West Coast, so-called Africa, Central Africa, Connecticut, Gullah, Geechee, and East America. Right, correct, you're right. You're right, Gold Mine Entertainment. What's good with you? I don't know you by this screen name. Also, Conquistador Caribbean chart. Brothers are a part of those lost churches. Oh, Dre, what's good, brother? I had did a master reset on my phone, so I don't have your number anymore. So if you call me, you probably were getting the voicemail. That's the thing. I had to do a master reset on my phone, and a lot of the numbers that I had, it didn't translate over. in the live chat to find a thumbs up. Anthony Hainsworth. Peace and love, Anthony Hainsworth. What's going on with you? Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate that. We got 6 likes, 6 views. Yeah, brother. All is well. I cannot complain. Besides staying a little busier than what I would like to be, for real, for real. I seem not to be able to get my ass from in front of this damn computer, for real. Honestly, I'm gonna keep it real. I seem not to be able to get myself from in front of this damn computer because